Good morning, this is Entropy. Today I am going to be discussing the fact that the Christian church is a cult group. We have to look at what I mean by that. Let's look at the definition of cult. This comes from Google. A cult is a system or religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. You may already feel that I'm going somewhere in particular with this. You probably think that when I say that a cult is a system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object, you think that I am saying that Christianity is a cult group because the particular figure that they worship is the Christ. Well, I am even going to go one step beyond that and say that the particular figure that the Christian church worships is not the Christ at all. It's not the true Christ. The Christ that Christians worship is nothing more than a Christ that was created by the Catholic Church by the teachings of Paul. So essentially, the Christ that most people know is a Christ that is a Jewish Christ, a Christ that is entirely by someone who never even met a human Christ. Many people believe that Paul didn't even believe that the Christ was an actual historic figure. But the fact is that the Apostle Paul never did meet a historic figure, a man, this man that we now call Jesus Christ. Many people don't know the history of the church. We have videos here, Lucy and I, about this history that you can look at for yourself. But keeping it simple, the original Christian church was Gnostic. The Gnostics were Greeks. They did not believe in Jehovah, the Old Testament God, as being the true God. They actually believe that the Old Testament God is actually Satan. The early church, what we now call the Catholic Church, was not even created until around 300 AD, and it was created by the Emperor Constantine. This is what constitutes the new Roman Empire, an empire that continues to exist today. The Catholic Church systematically killed off anyone that was contrary to their particular version of who the Christ was and their particular version of what belonged in the Bible and what was to remain out of it. So the Gnostics, who were the biggest adversaries to the Catholic Church, were systematically killed. Thankfully now we have those Gnostic scriptures. They were just recently found, about 100 years ago. But I'm not going to go into any great detail there. The only point I'm making is that who we think we know when we say Jesus Christ is not the Christ of the Gnostics, and therefore it's not the true Christ. The Christ we know today, the traditional Christian Christ, is completely formed by the Apostle Paul. So when I say that the Christian church is a cult group, only abiding by one person or one object, I am saying, first of all, that person is not Christ, but Paul. And secondly, I'm saying that the object that the Christians truly worship is the Bible itself. The idea that to say that there's anything in the Bible that's not true, if you say that, first of all, you're branded as an atheist. Secondly, you're branded as a blasphemer, when all you're doing is saying, look, the Catholic Church comprised this book, and much of it is directed at people in order to keep them subservient to their church. That makes common sense. I have a video called Christians, Atheists, You're 100% Wrong About the Bible. Because all atheists say that the Bible's 100% wrong as far as any of the religious aspects, the spiritual aspects of it. And the Christians say that the Bible's 100% right. It's foolishness. And you can look at that in more detail on my video. Christians and Atheists, you're 100% wrong about the Bible. I will put a link up in my description box for that. So if you speak against the Bible, if you say, oh, no, that can't possibly be true, I mean, just because it's written in a book, it can't be true, that's blasphemy now. That's blasphemy. So what is your God, Christians? Who is your God? Your God is that book you carry around. That's the reason why Lucy and I decided to burn it. I know it's dramatic, but it makes a point, and it opens up a dialogue, and that was the point of that video, which I guess I will also be putting a link to. Here I want to sort of give you an idea of what was going on in the very early church. And remember, the really early church was the Paulinian church. And really, the Christians shouldn't be calling themselves Christians. They should be calling themselves Paulinians or Polyists or something, because what doctrine they are saying entirely comes from a man who admittedly never met Jesus Christ. This is from 1 Corinthians chapter 1, starting with verse 10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that ye all speak the same thing, that ye be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Now what is Paul saying here? He's not sending this epistle to the church in order to tell these people, believe the same, all of you believe the same thing, but, don't believe what I tell you. Paul is saying all of you believe the same thing, and all of you better be believing what I tell you is the truth. Verse 11. For it hath been declared unto me of you, my brethren, by them which are the house of Chloe, that there are contentions among you. Now this I say, that every one of you saith, I am of Paul, I am of Apollos, and I am of Cephas, and I of Christ. Is Christ divided? Was Paul crucified for you, or were you baptized in the name of Paul? Now if you read between the lines here, Paul is really trying to get his own image, his own likeness of what the Christ was to these people, that they need to worship that particular Christ. All the time, just like Christians do today, he's saying, I'm not doing that. Verse 13, is Christ divided? Was Paul crucified for you? Or were you baptized in the name of Paul? This is a cult group mentality. I am the leader of the church. I tell you what Christ is. I tell you what God is. I don't presume to tell anyone how to interpret who God is. I will tell you that the God nature is within you, and just as the God nature is something that you and I and everyone share, we are not of the same personality. Therefore, how you interpret that God nature within you is not going to be the same way that I interpret it. And if anyone is putting themselves in a position and saying everything I tell you is true for you, then they are a liar. And that is a cult group. And the Christian church does that. The only difference is they say, if it's in the Bible, it's 100% true. So here I'm going to use the words of this Bible to back up whatever it is that I want to do. If I want to kill off 6 million Jews, then that's what I'll do. If I want to have slavery, that's what I'll do. If I want to justify rape, that's what I'll do. All things that I could do, anyone could do with the Bible. So who or what are you exactly worshiping, Christians? As opposed to this viewpoint that you must believe what I tell you, that is what the Christian church tells you. If it's in the Bible, it must be true. So if I'm reading from the Bible, I must be right. That is a cult group. As opposed to this viewpoint, I would like to end this with a quote from the Buddha, who said, "Believe nothing, no matter where you read it, or who said it, no matter if I said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense." So that is what our message, Lucy and my message, and anyone who's truly giving the message of the truth out there. Don't believe everything I say, but if it resonates with your soul and with your own common sense and reason, then take it. If it doesn't, then don't. And that's the way things should be conducted, because this dogma of these religions, especially the Christian church, since that is what we're familiar with in our society, dictates that we are to listen and we are to believe despite what our own gut tells us is wrong. So that is why Christianity is a cult group. I hope you enjoyed this and look towards the future with more videos to come. Thanks and have a good day.